let's go ahead and get started. My name is Dave, and I'm one of the owners and operators of Homeschool Tracker. And first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know there are so many different things you could be doing on a Tuesday night, and so we absolutely appreciate you taking the time to learn a little bit more about Homeschool Tracker and how to use it more effectively in your homeschool. Here at Homeschool Tracker, we not only want to create the tools to make you more efficient in your homeschool, but we also want to give you the training and the support so that you can use those tools effectively. And so that's what webinars like tonight are really all about. Getting in front of you guys, answering your questions, showing you how to use this on a day-to-day basis so that you can be more effective in your homeschool. So a few housekeeping notes. We are recording this presentation, and we will send a link to the recording to each and every one of you as soon as it's made available. Also, we are scheduled to go for about an hour. So we'll have about an hour of demo and presentation, and then happy to stay on as long as needed to answer any and all of your questions. So let's go ahead and dive right in. I want to spend a moment just to talk a little bit about what we're going to cover tonight. So first off, we're going to talk about where to find help within Homeschool Tracker. Then we'll dive into a tour of the interface so you can get to know where everything is in the menu. Then we'll talk about subjects and courses and the differences between the two, and really how to set those up within your account. Then we'll discuss assignments, which are really the heart of all of your record keeping within Homeschool Tracker. And we'll talk about lesson plans, which are a really popular and time-saving feature. Then we'll discuss reports, and specifically the daily task list. And then we'll talk about workflows. And what I mean by workflows is really just how you use Homeschool Tracker on a day-to-day basis. And then we'll, like I mentioned, have plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So let's go ahead and dive into where to find help. So I think probably the best place to find help for Homeschool Tracker is right here on these webinars. We do these about once a month or so. We'll do them more often during these summer months as people are kind of getting ramped up for the school year. And you can always find the schedule for those on our website. If you go to homeschooltracker.com, go up to the support tab and click on Training Center. From there, you'll see a link to the upcoming training event. So here's June 20th here. I need to update this with our next event. Also on this page, you can get links to recordings of all of our previous training events, including one that we did on lesson planning specifically. So if you are at all interested in lesson planning, I highly recommend checking out this recording of the webinar we did on lesson planning. We spent an entire hour just talking about lesson plans, how to set them up, how to do those really efficiently. So definitely check that out if you're interested in lesson plans. And then I would say another great place to find help are our getting started tutorial videos. So on our help site, which is just help.homeschooltracker.com, right here at the top, you'll see this 11-part getting started video guide. And each one of these videos is just a few minutes long. So if you wanted to watch all of them, it would only take maybe 30 minutes or so. But this is a great way. You can just jump right to a specific area if you have a question on that particular topic. Also related to help is the help documentation itself. So again, at help.homeschooltracker.com, this is our comprehensive help guide. So each one of these links here is a specific page on that topic. And it's really more of a reference guide. So one trick I like to show folks is if you're in Homeschool Tracker, so here I am in Homeschool Tracker. Let me just go to the calendar view here. Whenever you're in any screen or any page within Homeschool Tracker, if you just click on this help link up here in the top right, that'll take you directly to the corresponding help page for that page that you were on. So this is the agenda calendar view. It has everything and anything you ever wanted to know about that page, including links to other relevant areas. So a really great resource if you ever have any questions. And then another trick for the help site is the search bar here. So let's say I wanted to search for days off. You could go ahead and search for that. And this link right here at the top would tell me how to set up days off within Homeschool Tracker. So really valuable resource. I definitely recommend checking out the help guide if you ever have any questions. And then last, but certainly not least, is our email support. You can email us at any time at support@homeschooltracker.com. We respond to each and every email that we receive, usually within 1 to 2 business days. So feel free to email us with any questions you have. It could be specific to the program, a particular feature. It could be kind of more strategy-based, like how should I think about doing something. You can email us with billing questions, whatever you like. So definitely feel free to email us support@homeschooltracker.com. Okay, so let's dive right into the interface. So what I'm going to do is close out some of these windows here and jump into Homeschool Tracker. So if you've logged into Homeschool Tracker, most likely you've seen this menu here. And the menu can be opened and closed at any time just by clicking on this little caret. And the menu is broken up into 5 different areas. So in the top left, we have the schedules and planning section. This is where you'll find the agenda, both in calendar view and list view. The agenda is really just that. It's a list of all of the things that you or your student need to do. Below that are your lesson plans, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Below that are the shared lesson plan library. That's the shared lesson plan library where you can import lesson plans that other users have uploaded. Below this is the student section in the menu. This is where you'll find the main student list. This is where you can set the grade levels for those students. You can see the grading overview, which shows you each and every grade that your student received over a given time period. This also has the lesson plans and presets page, which we'll talk about a little bit later, as well as the transcript supplemental. So if you wanted to add any additional information to your student's transcript, you could do that here. The middle section of the menu is the report section. So everything from attendance reports to the course list report, the daily task list, which we'll talk about later, report cards, transcripts, they're all here. And all the reports can be generated as a PDF file, which you can then download, print, email, or save. The top right section of the menu, this is called a Manage List section. Now, I like to think of this section as more of kind of a maintenance area of the program. It's not really something or somewhere that you'll be kind of in and out of on a day-to-day basis, but it's good to know what it is and how to use it. So each one of these items here, like activities, chore names, courses, subjects, etc., each one of these is a list of items. So, for example, your course list, all the courses that you might have in your account would be under the courses list. If you wanted to add a new course, edit a course, delete a course, etc., this is where you would do it. So that's why we call it more of like a maintenance area of the program. Now, the bottom right section, this is the Your Account section. This is where you'll find your main program options. This is where you can edit your school profile, where you can modify your subscription settings, create additional user accounts. That's all right here. So that's just a quick overview of the interface. Next up, we want to talk about subjects and courses, and specifically the difference between the two and why that's important. So in Homeschool Tracker, we like to think of subjects as really those broad areas of study. So things like math, language arts, history, or science. And courses, those are specific areas of study within a subject. So for example, Algebra 2 might be the name of a course that would fall under the subject of math. Composition 1 might be the name of a course that would fall under the subject of language arts. And Physical Science 1 would be the name of a course that falls under the subject of science. So it's really kind of like this hierarchy where you have the subjects, which are those really kind of broad buckets. And then within each one of those subjects, you might have any number of courses. And now the naming of those things is really important. So for example, we like to make sure that the names of your subjects are really broad, just kind of basic, like math, language arts, history, science. And the courses, those names should be more specific. So it could be Algebra 2, it could be Freshman Geometry, it could be Composition 101, it's something that is more specific and allows you to immediately remember what that is. And this is important for a number of reasons. Really, it's a key organizational element within Homeschool Tracker, how you organize your subjects and courses. And it's important because when you get to the point of, say, producing a transcript or report card, the way those reports are organized are typically organized by subjects and then courses. So, for example, you may have, if you're generating a transcript, it may have all of your math courses, together. So math being the subject, and all of those courses might be kind of underneath that header within a transcript. And so that's why it's really important just to kind of make sure you're thinking about this, especially when you're first getting set up. So let's do a quick demo so we can see how this works. From the main menu, I'm going to go to the subjects list here. And now, first off, when I look at this, I can see I have 4 subjects right now. And other than that, there's not a whole lot of information here. So for example, let me just open this history subject. You'll notice that I can give it a name or change the name. I can say it's a core or elective. I see all the courses that fall under this subject right now, and I can make it active or inactive. But otherwise, there's not really a lot of settings here for subjects, and that's on purpose because, again, subjects are really just kind of a broad, almost like a container for courses. If I wanted to add a new subject, I could just go to Action and choose Add, give it a name, and save it. But now let's head on over to the courses list. So if I go to courses, first of all, the screen looks very similar, but I see that there's a lot more information here, right? Because there's a lot more settings, a lot more different things you can do with a course. So for example, let's open up this one. This one is Ancient History 1, and the subject is history. And I could give it a code. I can determine how many credit units this course is worth, how those credit units are calculated. This course could have a specific grading scale if I wanted. I could choose to use weighted grading here. I can give this course a bunch of notes or description, and I can make it active or inactive. So the reason you can do different and more specific things within a course is because each course might have different settings, right? You may your student may decide they want to take Ancient History 1 pass-fail, for example. So you may have a grading scale that's set up for pass-fail, and so you could set that here. But Ancient History 2, for example, maybe they don't want to do that pass-fail, and so that should just have the regular grading scale. You have that kind of flexibility within courses. So while we're in here, let's go ahead and create a new course. I'm going to go ahead and choose Action, Add, and I'm going to make a new course called Reading 1. And the subject for that will be Language Arts. Whoops. And I'm going to stop right there because as you probably noticed, as soon as I started typing Language Arts popped up here. And that's because this is what we call a smart entry field. And we have these throughout the program. It's really a kind of a time-saving feature. What it does is, as you're typing, it's searching that corresponding list for anything that matches. So in this case, it's searching the subject list. If I don't know the name of the subject that I'm looking for, I could enter in a blank space, and it'll show me all of the subjects here, and I can just choose which one I want. Okay, so I'm going to keep everything else the default for right now, and just click Save. Oh, I already have a course named Reading 1. Let me go ahead and call this Reading 2. I forgot I created Reading 1 on the last webinar. Let's go ahead and call this Reading 2. I may have a Reading 2 already. Let's try it. I do. All right, Reading 3 it is. And save that. And now I'm going to refresh this. And so now I have a Reading 3. So you can see I have multiple courses here. Let me go ahead and see if I can just delete one of these while I'm in here. Okay, so there we go. I have a new course, Reading 3, that we just created. Okay, so that's kind of the basics of subjects and courses. A few things to kind of watch out for. And this is, I kind of spoke about this a little bit earlier, but don't use the exact same name for both a subject and a course, right? Again, we want those subjects to be really broad and the courses to be much more specific. Most homeschool tracker accounts might have, say, anywhere from 4 to 10, maybe 12 subjects, but you could have literally hundreds of courses, because if you imagine your students over the course of, say, 12 school years or more, the number of courses that they take is substantial, right? But each one of those courses falls under some kind of subject. So how you organize it, totally up to you, but that's just a kind of a general rule of thumb. Now, within the program, there are different times where you'll see a slash. And so this slash shows the break between a subject and course. And if you don't see a slash, that means you're just looking at the subject. So let me show you what that looks like. If I go to the calendar view here, I'm just going to create a new assignment really quick and show you. So when I'm creating a new assignment, I can choose a student, and then I have this right here that says subject/course. We do this because it saves space and time a little bit. We've basically combined the subject and the course field into one, and we have a slash there to designate the difference. So if I just enter in a blank space here, I can pull up everything. And so you'll see history, then you'll see history/ancient history 1. So if I just clicked on history, this would just be the subject of history. I'm not choosing a course in this case. But if I did history/ancient history 1, now I'm choosing the course ancient history 1. So just an FYI on how that's laid out here. Okay, so let's jump into assignments since we were just kind of in there momentarily. But just a quick overview of assignments. Assignments are basically any schoolwork task that we give our students to complete. So this could be a lesson, it could be a homework assignment, it could be a quiz, a test, a field trip, anything that we're actually assigning our student so that they do it and we could kind of track it and mark it complete at some point. That's what we call an assignment. And assignments are really the heart of all of your record keeping in Homeschool Tracker. Everything that you put into assignment, everything that you track using an assignment, that's what can allow you to generate all of those wonderful reports, right? So assignments come from a couple different places. They can be created individually or in a series, and I'll show you how to do that. Or they can come from a lesson plan. And once those lesson plans are scheduled, it will go ahead and create assignments. Now, as you use those assignments, as you track them, as you mark them complete and give them grades and all of these different things, a number of things can happen. You can generate report cards and transcripts because of assignments. You can generate attendance reports through assignments if you have auto attendance enabled. You can create the daily task list, which is essentially kind of your agenda because of assignments. And all of those other additional reports, many of them rely on assignments. So that's why we really consider them the heart of all of your record keeping in Homeschool Tracker. Now, a basic assignment entry form looks like this. We actually just kind of saw this briefly. And an assignment really just requires a few things. It requires a student, a subject course, and a date. Everything else is optional. But of course, the more optional fields that you take advantage of, the more kind of specific reports you can generate. So for example, if you want to be able to generate a report card or a transcript, then you'll probably need to use the grading fields, right? If you want to generate a time spent report, well, then you'll need to use the time spent fields for your assignments. If you wanted to generate resource report, well, you'll have to use the resource field for that, and so on. So again, you know, it's how much you use is totally up to you. But I always like to, you know, tell people it all depends on what you're hoping to get out of Homeschool Tracker. So if you think like, oh yeah, I absolutely need a time spent report because I have to submit that every month or whatever it might be, then yeah, absolutely, you're going to need to use that time spent field. But many people don't need to use that, right? So you don't need to use it either. You know, if you want to keep track of grades, then yeah, of course you'll need to use the grading field. So it's totally up to you, but they're all there for you to use if you need to. Now, when an assignment is marked complete by a teacher, this is a very critical moment. So when you as a teacher pull up the assignment and you check your students' work and you're like, okay, this is great, I'm going to go ahead and mark this complete, a number of things happen. Attendance can be recorded if you have automatic attendance enabled. Grades can be generated if you're grading. Time spent can be calculated, and that's what can then generate all of those other reports. So until you mark something complete, it's not really counted as being done, obviously. So that's why it's important to make sure you mark those complete if they actually are completed. So let's do a quick demo on assignments. What we'll do is we'll create single and multiple assignments. We'll add grades to them and we'll mark them complete. And we'll do that both from the calendar view as well as the list view. So let's jump back here. So when I say calendar view and list view, I'm referring to the agenda. And this is one of the places where you'll spend most of your time within Homeschool Tracker. So again, the agenda is up here in the top left, and you can view it in both calendar view or in list view. So we're gonna stick with calendar view right now. And calendar view is exactly what it sounds like. It shows you a calendar. And what we'll do, we'll go ahead and create a new assignment. So I'm gonna click on add and choose assignment single. And I'm gonna pick a student. I'll choose my daughter Campbell and a subject course. So this is a smart entry field. So I can just hit the space bar and I'll choose Ancient History 1. And then an activity, again, this is a smart entry field. I'm gonna call this a lesson. Resource, so resources are in your library. So they're usually books or workbooks or DVDs, whatever it might be. And so you can add a resource to this assignment. PLC stands for page, lesson, chapter. So this is just a text field where you could put in, you know, lesson 1, for example. And then a date. So I'm going to go ahead and put in today's date. And then I could choose start and end times if that's important to you. So I'll say this starts at 8 a.m. and goes to 10 a.m. And points possible and points earned, I'm going to say this is worth 10 points. Okay. And so let's go ahead and save this. So there you go. There's my assignment for today from 8 to 10 a.m. And it's for Campbell. It's for Ancient History 1, and it's a lesson, and we're doing lesson 1. So if I wanted to view the details of that, I could just double click on it. It shows, it pulls in a picture of the book. And if I wanted to view more, I could click on more and see all of that here. So let's say today kind of came and went, and now I'm checking her work, and I want to go ahead and give this a grade and mark it complete. Well, I can just kind of open it up here, and let's say she got a 9 out of 10, and I'm going to go ahead and mark it teacher complete. So as soon as I click that, you notice it calculated the grade of 90% here. And so now let's click on save. And a couple things just happened, right? So not only did the assignment got a little bit darker in color to just kind of show me that that one's marked complete, but this Campbell present also showed up here. What that is that's an attendance record. And I happen to have automatic attendance enabled in my program options. And so what that does, it basically says, okay, if a student has done an assignment and it was marked complete on a given day, then I'm going to go ahead and assume that they were present that day, and we'll create an attendance record. Now, obviously, you can change that in your program options. You can turn it on or off or change kind of how it does it. But it's definitely a handy feature in that I don't have to go ahead and create a separate attendance record for her, since I know that she was there that day. But that's basically it. That's how you would create a single assignment, give it a grade, and mark it complete. Pretty straightforward. And when we think about workflows or how you might use Homeschool Tracker on a day-to-day basis, many people do just this, right? They may wake up in the morning, create all of the assignments for the day, go about their day, and then grade them and mark them complete that night. Or perhaps they did it the night before. Now, another workflow that a lot of folks are doing a lot lately is doing this kind of in reverse. So if you are, say, an unschooler, or maybe you have like another planner, maybe you have a binder or some other kind of printed curriculum or something, and you don't want to have to just input all this stuff in at the beginning, what you can do is basically at the end of the day, go in and just log all of the things that you did that day. So kind of like we're doing now, it's 8:23 at night. I could go through my whole day and create all the assignments that Campbell did today and basically log them all in here and give them grades and be on my way. Then the nice thing about that is, I don't have to plan in advance. I never get ahead or behind of what's in the program because it's just a way for me to log and track everything. And then Homeschool Tracker really becomes more of a logging and tracking tool and less of a planning tool. And that's totally fine, right? Because like I said before, it's totally up to you in terms of how much you want to use the program based off of kind of your homeschooling style and how much time you have, right? So if you don't want to put all of your assignments in for the whole year or for the whole week or whatever it might be, you could just do it kind of after the fact. And it's actually a great technique, and it's a good way to kind of get to know the program too, especially if you're coming from something else that you're using now. You can start to augment that with Homeschool Tracker by kind of logging things at the end of the day each day. Okay, so we showed you how to create one assignment. Let's show you how to create more than one assignment at a time. So I'll go ahead and go to Add, Assignment Multiple. So when I do that, I'm presented with the Add Multiple Assignment sort of wizard here. So each one of these tabs is a different point in the wizard. So at the beginning here, I can choose what students I want this for. So I could create this for more than one student at a time. But otherwise, all this stuff is pretty similar. So I'm going to choose Ancient History 1, and these are lessons. I'll just pick a resource. And again, I'll make these for 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And they're worth 10 points. Now I'm going to click Continue to Day and Date. That'll take me to the next phase here. And I want these to happen every day. And I'm going to have it start, not today, but tomorrow, actually. Okay, so 6/21. And then I have this option here. I can continue creating items until an end date, or I can continue creating items until PLC pattern is exhausted. Excuse me. I'm going to choose this option because I want to show you what that looks like. So I'll go ahead and click Continue to PLC. Now, when we think about PLC, remember it stands for Page Lesson Chapter, right? So if you're creating more than one assignment, chances of the PLC being the same is probably slim, right? So you would imagine like the first assignment might be lesson 1, the second one might be lesson 2, then lesson 3, and so on. So what we've done here is we have this tool that allows you to automatically increment the PLC as you create items. So I'm going to choose a 1-part auto increment, and I'm going to change this leading text to be lesson. I'm going to start with lesson 2, because if you remember, the one that I just created moments ago was lesson 1. So I'm going to start with lesson 2. And then I'm going to go to lesson 4 and increment by 1. So basically, I'm starting with lesson 2 and I'm ending with lesson 4, and I'm going to increment by 1. So if this works, it should be basically create, 3 assignments for me: lesson 2, lesson 3, and lesson 4. Okay. So let's go ahead to continue to preview. And what that does is it basically shows me a preview of what we're about to make. So here we go. I've got an assignment for Wednesday, and it's lesson 2. Then Thursday is lesson 3. Friday is lesson 4. So that's exactly what I was hoping for. So what I can do now is I can select the items that I want, in this case, all of them. And now I'll choose accept selected items. And once I've done that, now they're on my agenda. Okay, so now I have lesson 2, 3, and 4 on the agenda. So very quickly, I was able to create 3 lessons. I could have created 10 if I wanted, but I created 3 here and filled out the rest of my week, and we're good to go. So now I want to head on over to the list view to show you what that looks like. But before we do that, I just want to show you a few things about the calendar view here. Up here at the top, these blue tabs, these are filters. So these filter what you're viewing in the calendar view. So I could choose if I wanted to view just specific students, just specific types of items. Right now I'm looking at everything, but if I had turned off attendance, for example, then that would go away. I can view the completion status, so just things that are marked complete or incomplete. And then I could choose specific subjects and courses that I want to view. Below that is this export to PDF button, which is really handy. So if I click on that, it'll download a PDF to my desktop here. And this is a PDF of the view that I was just looking at. So I could print this out, I could email it. It's a great way if you just want to get a printable sort of copy of your agenda. Below that are the kind of navigation tools here to move forward and backward. You can also view this by work week, by day, month, etc. And then here at the bottom, this is kind of cool. Right now, I'm viewing the school day, but if I choose show full day, basically now the calendar shifts to 12 a.m. To 12, midnight to midnight, essentially, right? If I choose show school hours, then it uses my school hours, and you can set those up in your program options. I have mine from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that's pretty much it for the calendar view. So let's jump over to the list view. Now, again, the list view is literally the exact same information. It's the same agenda, but it's just presented in a list format versus a calendar format. So the nice thing about a list view is that I can see a lot of data all at once. So each one of these assignments, I can see, if they've been graded yet. I can see, what resources are part of them. You just do a lot more in a list format than you can in a calendar format at times. Now, the way this screen is set up here on the left, these are all those filters that we had on the calendar view. So I could change, again, the students that I'm viewing, that sort of thing. Here in the middle, this is the data here. So each one of these columns, you could sort by these columns. So if I wanted to sort by date descending, I could do that if I wanted. You can also group by these columns. So if I take one of these columns and I drag it up here, now I can group by assignment and attendance. This is really handy if you have more than one student. You can group by student. And then you can also search in here for items if you like. Now, but one of the coolest things about the list view is that you can edit more than one item at a time. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to select those 3 assignments that we just created. And I can choose action, multi-edit. Okay. So now I can edit all 3 of these assignments at the same time. So for example, let's go ahead and choose points earned. I'm going to say she got an 8 out of 10 on all of these, and I'm going to go ahead and mark all of these complete as well and choose save. So there you go. Now each one of these now is an 80% grade. And if you'll notice, it also created those attendance records for me on each one of those days. So really handy tool in the list view to be able to edit or modify more than one item at a time. Okay, So just to recap here, we created single and multiple assignments. We added grades to those, and we marked them complete. And we did that both in the calendar view as well as the list view. So now let's dive into lesson plans. So lesson plans are a really popular feature, and I want to preface this just by reminding folks that, again, Homeschool Tracker is very modular, it's very flexible, and you don't have to use everything in the program. So lesson plans are definitely, maybe not definitely, they're a little bit more advanced of a feature. So don't feel like you need to jump right into lesson plans right away. But I do want to show you how they work, what they are, and how to use them. So what a lesson plan is it's basically a sequence of items that have not yet been scheduled as assignments. So this is perfect if you want to plan everything out in detail all at once, kind of at the beginning of the year, or if you have, say, a predefined curriculum, maybe something you purchased, you can create a lesson plan for it. Now, the nice thing about lesson plans is they're not tied to a particular student, and that means they can also be reused over and over again throughout your homeschool. So, for example, if you created a lesson plan for freshman biology for your older student, when your younger students get there, you can use that same lesson plan for them and not have to recreate it. The other nice thing is that lesson plans can be shared and imported using our shared lesson plan library. So right now there's over 1,000 lesson plans in there, all created by users like you. A lot of them are based off-the-shelf curriculum, and users may have created the lesson plan in Homeschool Tracker and shared it with everyone else. This is also really handy if, say, you're part of a co-op or a group and you're all kind of working together. You could have one member of the group create the lesson plan, upload it, and then share it with everybody through that as well. So let's take a look and do a quick demo on lesson plans. So what we'll do is we'll see an example lesson plan. We'll create one, and then we'll import one from the shared lesson plan library, and then we'll schedule the lesson plan and create assignments out of it. And we'll discuss a number of different ways to do that. So let's jump back into Homeschool Tracker, and I'm going to go to the lesson plan screen here up in the top left. Now, if you are brand new to Homeschool Tracker, you probably don't have any lesson plans. I happen to have a number of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up one as an example. I'm going to just choose this Abeka Arithmetic first grade plan. And hang on, I was doing something in here earlier. Let me just change something real quick. Okay. And so here it is. Now, first off, this screen looks a lot like the agenda list view, right? And that's because we use a lot of the same kind of paradigms throughout the program. But basically, you've got kind of filters here on the left and the data in the middle. Now, the other thing about this is not only does it look like the agenda list view, each one of these items looks kind of like an assignment. So, for example, let me just open this up. You'll notice that this looks a lot like the assignment entry field, right? Except it's missing a few things, right? It doesn't have a date and it doesn't have a student. Instead, it has a day number and no student. And because this is a lesson plan item, it is not an assignment yet. It hasn't been physically assigned to anybody. So it's almost like a template for an assignment. You can almost imagine lesson plans as like a stack of paper on your desk in a very specific order. And each one of those pieces of paper is soon to be assignment, but it hasn't actually been assigned to anybody, right? So as you're going through that stack of lessons, you could essentially take the first one off the top and hand it to your student, and now it would become an assignment. That's when you assign it, right? So let's take a look at how this is set up. On day one of this lesson plan, you're doing lesson 1. On day 2, you're doing lesson 2. On day 3, you do lesson 3, and so on. On day 12 of this lesson plan, there's a test, and that's worth 100 points. Also on day 12, there's another test, and that's also worth 100 points. And then we get back into lessons here. And if I scroll down, you can see this pattern kind of continues. And if I go all the way to the bottom, I see that this goes for 171 days, and there are 202 total items here. So this is absolutely an entire year's worth of arithmetic assignments, or lessons, so I should say, kind of ready to go whenever I want to use them. So that's kind of what a lesson plan is. It's basically a bunch of items that are in a particular order that are basically templates for assignments. And whenever you want to use them, you can just go in here and assign them to your students, schedule them basically. So that's what a lesson plan is. So let's go ahead and create a simple lesson plan. I'll go ahead and click on Add, choose Add Multiple. And now what happens is it's basically assuming I want to add to that existing plan, but I want to create a new lesson plan. So I'm going to call this Sample Plan. And this will be for Ancient History 1. And let's pick a activity. These are all lessons. Let's go ahead and pick a resource too. And these are all worth 10 points. So again, this wizard here feels a lot like the multiple assignment wizard, right? But we're creating lesson plan items. Now I'll continue to day numbers. And I'm going to start on day 1, and I'm going to increment by 1. And then I'll go to PLC. And so just like before, I can create a pattern here. So I'm going to call these lessons. I'm going to start with lesson 1, and I'm going to end with lesson 15. So I'm basically going to create 15 lessons, right? So I can go to continue to preview. And again, this is just a preview. So I can see, okay, on day 1, I'm doing lesson 1. On day 15, I'm doing lesson 15. And they're all worth 10 points. So this looks good to me. I'm going to go ahead and select all of these and then choose accept selected items. And so now I'm here back on the lesson plan screen. I'm just going to go ahead and open that lesson plan, sample plan, right? And choose OK. And there you have it. I just created a 15-day lesson plan for Ancient History 1. There's 15 lessons in it, and each one of those is worth 10 points. It's pretty simple, right? If I wanted to go ahead and add to this, I'm going to add a test, let's say, or a quiz at the end. So I can choose Add Single. I'm going to add it to the same plan. Again, this is for Ancient History 1. This is a test. And this will go on day 16, and it's worth 100 points. Go ahead and save that. And there you go. Now I have a 15-day lesson plan, and on day 16, we have a test that's worth 100 points. Now I could continue this process for an entire school year and kind of build out this whole plan. Happy to do that. If you are interested in creating lesson plans efficiently, I would definitely recommend checking out that lesson planning webinar that we did. You can get that replay on our website. And we go through a lot of strategies for creating lesson plans in a really efficient way. So definitely check those out, or check out that replay if you're interested in lesson plans. Okay, so now we've created a simple lesson plan. What I want to do next is let's import a lesson plan from the shared lesson plan library. So let me jump back here, and we'll go to shared lesson plans. So if I want to see the shared lesson plan library, I can just enter in a blank search here. And let me do that again. There we go. And I can see all of the lesson plans. And you'll notice it just goes on and on. Last I checked, I think there's over 1,000 lesson plans in here. And as you'll see, a lot of these are based off of off-the-shelf curriculum, things that you may have purchased. And again, keep in mind, these are all created by other users, so they might not be perfect, but they might be a great start for you if you are doing something similar. It's also great if you just want to check them out and kind of get inspiration for lesson plans. It's a great resource for that as well. So what I want to do is I'm going to go back here and I'm going to search in here for reading. And I'm going to scroll down to this Usborne First Reading Level 1 plan. So I can click on it, I can get a view of it, see kind of what it is. So I can see, somebody took the time to create all of this, and I'm going to go ahead and prepare this for import into my account. So first thing I need to do is give it a name. So I'm going to give it the name of Reading 1. And I'm taking a look here, and I noticed before I import this that for subject course, it all says language arts. So if you remember, if it just says language arts, that just means it's the subject. It's not assigned to a specific course yet, right? So I could import this and change it later, but I could also do it right now. So I can choose all of them and then choose Action, Multi-Edit, and I could change the subject course to Language Arts Reading 1 and click Save. So now that's changed. One other thing I'll point out, you'll notice this asterisk and it says new for all of these items here. That just means that that activity and these resources, they don't exist in my account currently, so it's going to create those for me, which is great. So otherwise, this looks good to go. I'm going to go ahead and choose Accept Selected Items. And there you have it. Now I'm back in my account on my lesson plan page, and this is that lesson plan that I just imported. So now it's ready for use. I could go ahead and assign these to my students or schedule them and create assignments out of these and use it right in my homeschool. So pretty cool stuff to be able to import that and get right to it. So now I want to show you how to actually do that. Okay, so let's say I want to schedule the first 5 days of this lesson plan. I'm just going to select those first 5 days and then choose Action Scheduler. So I can schedule this for more than one student at a time if I like. I'm just going to choose Campbell and then continue to day and date. So I want this to happen every day, and I want it to happen from 10 to 11 a.m. And I'm going to have the start date be this past Monday, just so that we're all in the same week here. And then I can choose continue until all selected items in the lesson plan are used. So remember, I selected 5, so it's just going to schedule those 5. Then I'll go to continue to preview. So as we're kind of going through these wizards, you're kind of probably seeing a pattern here, right? We make selections, and then we get to preview those selections. And then if we're good with them, we can select those items and then accept them. So there's always kind of like a workflow here in terms of how we go about creating things or editing things. So here's a preview. On Monday, she's doing day 1 of that lesson plan. On Tuesday, it's day 2, and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of these and choose accept. And so now if I go to my agenda, there you have it. We have 5 assignments here, and they're all different because it's day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and day 5 of the lesson plan. So I can open these up and take a look. Now, remember, the lesson plan is still there, and all of those days are still there. I didn't change the lesson plan at all. All I did was I took those first 5 days and I scheduled them, and I created assignments out of those lesson plan items. So remember, those lesson plan items are kind of like templates. When I scheduled them, it created new assignments for Campbell based off of those lesson plan items. So, these are no longer connected to the lesson plan per se. So if I change, something in here, if I change the PLC to something like that, that does not change the lesson plan item because now I'm just affecting the assignment itself. So that's really the beauty of the lesson plan, is that now I could use that same lesson plan and I could create assignments for somebody else. And it could be right now, or it could be 5 years from now. It's really flexible like that. So that's kind of a basic way to schedule items in a lesson plan. I want to show you again now a more advanced way to do that. And for that, I'm going to head to the lesson plans and presets page. So if that first way to schedule is kind of our basic scheduler, the lesson plans and presets page is our advanced scheduler. So first off, for Campbell, I can see the active lesson plans that she's using kind of in our advanced scheduler. I'm going to click on edit because I want to add a plan in there for her. And this section of the site takes a little bit longer to load because we're loading in a lot of items at once. So I'm going to go ahead and check the box here for reading 1. Then I'm going to head on over to preset. So what a preset is it's basically a preset time and day when I want a specific subject course to be scheduled when I run this scheduler. So you'll notice the days of the week on here. These are just days of the week. These aren't specific dates, right? And I've set up these preset times. So I have Ancient History 1, Monday through Friday from 9 to 10 a.m. Then I have Spelling from 10 to 11 a.m. And then Arithmetic kind of alternates Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Grammar on Tuesday and Thursday, and so on. I'm going to go ahead and create a new preset. And I'm going to create it for my course Reading 1. And it's going to start at 3 p.m. and go to 4 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'll click on Save. So now I have a new preset for Campbell from 3 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. This preset is specifically for Reading 1. So when I run the scheduler and I choose the preset option, I don't have to think about what day or what time I want that to happen. It's going to use the preset that I'm setting here. So let's go to this advanced scheduler now. Now, the other cool thing about this advanced scheduler is that I can schedule more than one lesson plan at a time. So before I was just scheduling one at a time. Here I can schedule as many as I like. So I'm going to choose all of these, and there are 7 lesson plans. I'm going to schedule all 7 of these plans at once. Now I can continue to day and date. Now this is the key here. Under day options, I'm going to choose preset. So instead of picking what days I want it to happen, I'm going to have my presets pick that. Now for the start date, I'll choose next Monday, and we'll schedule all of next week. So I'm going to continue until next Friday. So basically, I'm just scheduling next week. I'm going to schedule all 7 of these lesson plans for the preset times for next week. So I'll continue to preview. And here you go. I have 46 items that it's about to schedule. And you'll notice each one of these is from different plans, all 7 of them. And they're happening at very specific times, right? These specific times are all based off of those presets that we saw earlier. So I'll go ahead and select all of these and then choose accept. So now it's creating 46 assignments for me based off of those lesson plans, and it's putting them at those specific times based off of the presets. So you can think about workflow again. You know, if we go to a more advanced workflow like this, and we had lesson plans for everything, and we had presets, I could just come in here at the beginning of the week every week, a few clicks, and create all the assignments I need. So if I go back to the agenda here, this is this week, and I go to next week, there you go. 46 assignments for Campbell, all at very specific times, ready to go for next week. So pretty cool in terms of the power behind what we just did. You know, there was a lot of planning, obviously, that went into that in terms of creating those presets, creating those lesson plans. But when it comes to actually scheduling them, it's literally just a few clicks and you're ready to go. All right, so we saw an example lesson plan. We created a simple plan. We imported one from the shared lesson plan library, and we scheduled that using kind of the basic scheduler. And then we also scheduled a week using the advanced scheduler using presets. So hopefully that was a good kind of overview of lesson plans for you. All right, coming to the end here, let's jump into reports a bit. So remember, reports can be created as PDFs that you can save, print, or send out. And the daily task list, now this is a great report to use on a day-to-day basis, and I'll show you that here in a minute. And transcripts and report cards, those can be generated as long as you have at least one completed and graded assignment in a course. So if you don't have any grades, it's hard to generate a transcript or report card. So you just need at least one completed and graded assignment in a course in order to generate a transcript or report card. So let's go ahead and take a look at the daily task list. So if I go to the reports and choose daily task list, I'm going to keep all the settings kind of the default here, but obviously there are a lot of different options you can choose. And I'm going to generate a daily task list for next week. So start on Monday and go through Friday. And I'm going to hit generate. And now I can pick up the report and open it here. So here you go. This is basically a printout of everything that Campbell needs to do next week. So here's Monday, all of her assignments with all the information. And then Tuesday. And this goes on, and it's 4 pages total. So I could print this out. I could put it on a clipboard or bulletin board and kind of have a hard copy ready to go. But really kind of a powerful and easy way to generate a report so that you and your students can see, you know, what's on deck for the week ahead. Okay. So wrapping up here, thinking about workflows again. Now we covered workflows throughout the presentation, but you know, you could do single assignments on a daily basis, right? Kind of what we talked about, where you could go in at the beginning of the day, create assignments, or go in at the end of the day and log all the things that you did. You could create multiple assignments for a week or so at the beginning of the week and do it that way. Or you could get into lesson plans and schedule all of your students 1 week at a time. Now, I will say there's this temptation to kind of schedule your entire year all at once right away. And we definitely recommend folks don't do that, but rather you just schedule 1 week or 2 weeks at a time, because that gives you so much more flexibility when it comes to rescheduling, or if you're working faster or slower. There's no reason in Homeschool Tracker to schedule all of your math assignments for the entire year, on day one, because of lesson plans, because of the flexibility that they offer, and just because that you can create assignments at any given time. It makes much more sense to just do it, say a week or two at a time. And we found that users that do that are much more successful with the program. All righty, so let's see where we're at. Q&A. So that's it for kind of the guided portion here. If you have any questions, feel free to click that Q&A button there and send them my way. I'm happy to stay on as late as we need to answer your questions. One thing, as questions are coming in, I'll mention we were recording this, obviously, so we will send the link to that recording to you as soon as it's available. Also, what we like to do for folks that spend the time with us on these webinars, and we absolutely greatly appreciate you spending the time with us, is we credit your account with a free month of Homeschool Tracker. So if you're a current user, we will essentially extend your expiration date out a month so that you get a free month of Homeschool Tracker as our gift to you. And if you're not a Homeschool Tracker user, we will email you and kind of set you up with a free month that way. So thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate it. Okay, so Paula is asking a question. She says, when you import a lesson plan, are the resources imported into your library? Great question, Paula. Yes, they are. So if you recall, when I imported that lesson plan, it said new next to those items when I was importing it. Basically, it said that because those items did not exist in my library at the time. So it just basically created those for me. So if I go to my library here, I will see that some of these books here, some of these resources were not here earlier. And these are ones that came in with that lesson plan that we imported. In fact, if you look at it, you can see this record was created today at 8:41 p.m. So just 10 minutes ago when we imported that item. Okay, a lot of questions coming in here. So let's see. Alicia is asking, on the daily task list, is it possible to print 1 day per page instead of all the days running on one list? That is a great question. We've had that request come in, and something that we'd like to add to the daily task list, and it's definitely on our list to do. In the meantime, the only way around that is to basically just print 1 page or 1 day at a time. So basically just generate 1 day at a time. So rather than generating the whole week, I would just generate 626 to 626 and create 1 day here. And now I would have a 1 day report, print that, and then I would do that for the next day. So obviously a little bit more cumbersome, not ideal. But yes, I agree with you. It would be great to be able to have a checkbox here to basically add a page break between the days. But that does not exist currently. Let's see. Paula's asking, how would we be able to push our lesson plan out a day for field trip, co-op, etc.? I'm assuming, or excuse me, Paul is asking that. Not Paula. I think there was a Paula earlier. Paul is asking, how would we be able to push our lesson plan out a day for field trip, co-op, etc.? So I'm assuming Paul is saying basically not necessarily your lesson plan, but your agenda probably, where you want to push everything forward a day. So this is a great question. Comes up a lot because essentially this is rescheduling, right? So let's say I'm here, and let's say today's Monday, and I have everything already scheduled here, and something comes up. Let's say Campbell's sick, or we decide to go on a field trip or something, and I don't want to have to kind of rework all this. So how can I push everything forward a day? Well, I'll need to do that from the agenda list view. So I'll go to the list view, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up next week. And so here's all 46 items from next week. And I want to push them all forward a day. So all I have to do is select all of them and then just choose Action, Reschedule. And what I'll do is basically change the start date here from Monday. I'm going to change it to Tuesday. And then I'll hit continue to preview. And now on the preview, I'll see that it says existing date Monday, new date Tuesday. And here it says existing date Tuesday, new date Wednesday. So let me go ahead and select all of these and then just choose accept. And so now they've all been moved. It's easier to view that from the calendar. So let me go back there. And now you'll see Monday is free and everything just got pushed forward a day. And in fact, if I go to the following week, you'll see that it now moves into the following Monday. So that's how you would kind of bump everything forward a day. And that's another great reason why we recommend just scheduling like 1 week or 2 weeks at a time, right? So if I had scheduled my entire year up front, just 1 week was 46 items. So you can imagine a year would be thousands of items. And while you could absolutely do it, Homeschool Tracker will let you bump all those forward a day. It can be kind of cumbersome, right? And it may have unintended sort of consequences if, you bump everything forward a day and it didn't kind of look exactly the way that you want it. So that's why we recommend just scheduling a week or two at a time. Hopefully that answers your question, Paul. Lisa is saying, thanks for the overview. Question, my students are 8th and 10th grade. How can they view and check off their assignments each day so I don't have to print the assignment list? That's a great question, Lisa. What I would recommend is that you create a user account for your students. I'll show you how to do that real quick. If you go to the menu and choose subscription and users, here at the bottom, you can create user accounts for each one of your students. So Campbell here already has a username. The other students in my account don't have a username currently. So let's look at Manning, for example. He does not have a user account. So if I just double click on him, I can make him active. And now I can create a username for Manning if I like. I won't create it right now, but I give him a username and password, and then I can choose, kind of the permissions that I want for him. So if you just want them to be able to view and edit assignments, you can choose that. If you don't want them to edit all the fields, you don't have to. You can choose specific ones. And in fact, if you don't do any of them, it won't let them edit the assignment fields, but it will let them check the box for student complete. So I'll show you what this looks like. Let me just log out real quick. And I'm going to log in as Campbell Test. So when I'm logged in as Campbell, the menu looks very different. It's kind of pared back because I limited her permissions. If I go to the agenda, I can see all of her assignments because I'm her basically. And if I open one of these and go to more, I can't do anything here, right? Because I've locked her out, but I can check this box for student complete. So I can see everything. I know what I need to work on, all of that. And that way you don't need to print the reports or anything like that. And now I can just click on this when I'm done and click save. And now for me as the parent, if I'm logged into my account, I could filter out using these filters here, right? Just the things, all I want to see are things that are student complete, and then I could go in every night and see the things that she did do and check them and mark those complete myself. That's actually the preferred workflow, to be honest. The daily task list and all that is great, but we're trying to get away from printing things, right? Because it saves paper, and the whole point of having an online tool is that we can all access the same tool together. So obviously if your students are younger and you don't want them on the computer or whatever, that's one thing. But if you have older students and you want to give them access, then absolutely, that's a great way to do it. Okay, so Mary is asking, excuse me, when you are creating a lesson plan, can you explain the 2-part and 3-part auto increment choices instead of 1-part auto increment? I have a book to do that has units with numbered lessons within it, but it doesn't go just sequentially, i.e. Unit 1 has 6 lessons, Unit 2 has 8 lessons. Do they take care of that? Great question, Mary. So let me log back in as the other user here. And I'm going to do it like I'm creating assignments. It's the same idea as if you're doing lesson plans or assignments. But if I go to add assignment multiple, and let's just kind of fill some of this out real quick. And we'll continue to day and date. And we'll do these every day. And sorry, I'm going kind of fast here, but the idea is the same. And we'll continue creating items until PLC pattern is exhausted, just like before. So now here we are on PLC. So when we were doing this earlier, we were just doing a one-part auto increment, which basically allows me to do like lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4. You have the ability to do a 2-part auto increment and a 3-part auto increment. So let's just do a 2-part one so you can see what that looks like. The idea here is that it allows you to do things like lesson 1.A, lesson 1.B, lesson 1.C, lesson 2.A, lesson 2.B, lesson 2.C, and so on. You'll see that a lot, in specific like workbooks or just depending on how your books might be organized. And that allows you to do that within the 2-part auto increment or the 3-part. Now, Mary's question specifically is asking, Unit 1 has 6 lessons, Unit 2 has 8 lessons. Does this take care of that? Well, it can't do it to that level of sophistication, right? Because there's no easy way for us to know that Unit 1 has 6 and Unit 2 has 8. But there are kind of unique strategies for doing that in a way that's efficient, right? So probably the most basic way to do it would be to do Unit 1 first, and then do Unit 2 next, and then do Unit 3. And this can still speed that up. But just kind of thinking out loud here, what I might do is say, find the unit that has the most number of lessons, right? So let's say Unit 4 had 10 lessons. It's like, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically make 10 lessons for all the units, and then I'm going to delete the ones that I don't need, right? That might actually be faster. And that's where, you got to kind of think 10 steps ahead and in terms of like trying to be really efficient with these tools. Because again, that's all these are. These are just tools. And so you can use them however you want. And it might not be kind of the way that you think you're going to use it, but you might find a more efficient way in the long run. So let me just kind of demo that just to kind of for fun here. So let's do what Mary was asking. We'll do unit, and we'll start with Unit 1, and we'll end with Unit 3, for example. We'll increment by 1. And then the second part of the auto increment is going to be lesson, right? So it's going to be Unit 1, lesson, and we'll start with lesson 1. Use numbers. Lesson 1, and end with lesson 10, and we'll increment by 1. Now, I already know that Mary said that Unit 1 only has 6 lessons, and Unit 2 has 8 lessons. But I happen to know Unit 3 has 10 lessons, so I'm going to make 10 for each one of these. And I'll go to continue to preview. And now here we go. So this is my preview here. So it's Unit 1, Lesson 1, Unit 1, Lesson 2, Unit 1, Lesson 3, all the way through Unit 1, Lesson 10. Then Unit 2, Lesson 1, all the way through Unit 1, Lesson 10. So it's a lot. Now, one thing I can do here is I could, just unselect the ones I don't need, right? So she said that Unit 1 only had 6, right? So I could just uncheck 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then Unit 2 had 8, so then I would uncheck 9 and 10. And let's say Unit 3 had 10. So that's a very quick way of doing kind of what she's asking. Obviously, these dates might not be what you're looking for. I just did this really quickly, right? So you might need to finagle that a little bit. But if you're doing lesson plans and not assignments, then the dates don't necessarily matter. You'll have day numbers, which you can edit those after the fact too. So that's one way to do it. Hopefully that answers your question, Mary. She says, perfect, thanks. Great. All right, any other questions as we kind of wind down here? Again, like I mentioned, we really appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Okay, here we go. Lisa has one. In the course notes area, if we add the name of the text and author and overview of the course, will it print on a report? I would like to be able to have a report of course descriptions for high school. Yeah, it's a great question. And yes, the course list report right here allows you to create a report that has a list of all your courses. You can choose which ones you want in here, but let me just go ahead and generate that and see what we have. This account that I'm using doesn't really have a lot of information in it. But if you remember, I had this note in there that said, this is ancient history for ancient history 1. And so that shows up here in the course list report. It also prints out the grading scale for it and how many credit units it's worth. So it comes with a lot of different options, and that, you can select that here if you like. Okay. Let's see. Paula is asking, in lesson plans, can you insert tests? For example, 1 to 50 with a test after lesson 13 and a test after lesson 30. Absolutely. And I would absolutely recommend you check out that lesson planning webinar, because again, this is kind of one of those situations where you have to think about how might be the most efficient way to do this. So I'm not going to show you here because it's a few steps, but I'll try to explain it. In this situation, if you're creating 50 lessons and you want to create a test after lesson 13 and a test after lesson 30, there's a couple ways you could do it. You could create all 50 lessons and then you could insert the tests, but then you might need to change the day numbers for the other lessons, right? If you didn't want the test to be on the same day as a lesson. The other way to do it is to create the tests first. So if you know that the test is going to be on day 14 and day 31, I would go ahead and create those tests first for day 14 and day 31. And then I would go ahead and create the 50 lessons. And when you create those 50 lessons, there's an option that you can check that says skip over day numbers already in use. And that's like a key checkbox that's really helpful in this situation, because what it'll do is it'll create 50 lessons, but it's going to skip over day 14 and day 31 because you already have something on those days. So I like to refer to this strategy as kind of creating those tentpole events, whether it be a test or a quiz or a midterm or whatever it is. Create those tentpole events first and then fill in the gaps with lessons. And you'll find, if you think ahead and kind of plan it out, that it'll be way faster to do it that way than to, say, create 50 lessons and then try to insert the tests and move the day numbers around. But definitely check out that lesson planning webinar, because we spent a lot of time on that there. And again, just in case somebody wasn't here for that portion, if you go to homeschooltracker.com, the support tab, and then the training center, then go to this lesson planning link here. This will take you to the webinar that we did for that. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate you staying on tonight. And like I said, we will credit each one of you with a free month of Homeschool Tracker that joined us tonight. If you aren't already a subscriber, we'll figure that out based off of the attendance, and we'll reach out to you and set you up with a free month that way too. So thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate it. And if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to email us at support@homeschooltracker.com. So thanks again. Have a great night, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Take care.